uwager.lv, sportsbook, and casino. Sign up today at uwager.lv, the premier online sportsbook, taking wagers since 1998. The most player-friendly lines, weekly juice specials, and a true dime line in MLB. Unique casino platforms with thousands of games. Play poker, high stakes, low stakes, or tournament play. uwager.lv, what we offer. Free same-day payouts. Customer service and wagering support, 24/7, year-round. Free monthly rebates on your action and daily casino rebates. Contests, free bets, best bonuses, and giveaways. Generous referral program. Get an 80% free play bonus on your first deposit, up to $1,000. Sign up today, and use promo code SPORTSWEB. Remember, you can't win if you don't play.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television here on a Monday night. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. How do we start off this show as we always do on a Monday, Wednesday night, or if there's ever any breaking news when it comes to your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, your Tampa Bay Rays, or Tampa Bay Lightning. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have Mr. Rock Riley, the Rock Stops Here podcast, longtime TV and radio personality Rock Riley on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. We'll be talking about what else? Your Tampa Bay Rays, who the last 13 games, 6-7. Still 54 and 27, 4.5 games up on the Baltimore Orioles. And then, of course, as we always do on this show, we talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Shaun King's comments on Kyle Trask. That has been a popular topic on Facebook. Thanks a lot for everybody clicking in on that, commenting. You're always welcome to comment. 32,000 reach with like over 400 comments. Sorry about that, Rock. I had to tag you in it to show you that we definitely got some Bucs fans out there that love the Sports Web and definitely want to see what this quarterback competition is going to turn out to be with Kyle Trask versus Baker Mayfield. The Bucs not putting anybody into the Ring of Honor. Antonio Brown running his mouth once again. As always, open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, in case you can't get through, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. Let's get out to the man himself. His podcast, The Rock Stops Here, longtime TV and radio personality, Rock Riley. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. Long time no see. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I mean, like you said, NFL is basically year-round. And you bring up a hot topic when it comes to quarterback play, you're going to get some response. And, of course, the Rays, still the best team in baseball, but we'll get into it. But I'm good. I'm great. Happy to be back with you, Peter.
Absolutely. And, of course, you know this guy, longtime TV, radio personality. He's got a great podcast. You were out there covering the Bucs. But before we get to that, you also covered the Rays. Your thoughts here, the last 13 games, baseball's ebb and flows, but 6-7. You lose a couple there to Oakland. You lose the remaining series to San Diego. And then, of course, you come home to the Royals. You split with the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, what do you make of this? So what do you make of this Tampa Bay Rays team at the end of the day?
They're still the best team in baseball right now. And as you said, it's a long grind. There's no way you're going to win everything. You're not always at 162 games going to be at the top of the heap. But I think the bullpen is a weakness. And Peter Bendix, who is the general manager of the Rays, I saw him at Tropicana Field the other day. He's out there watching batting practice. They are going to be buyers and not sellers during the trade deadline. We all know about the no salary cap, where their payroll is. But just being there and talking to those inside the Rays organization, they know that this season, being the number one team in baseball, if there's ever a year to try to win the World Series, this is it. And they are looking for pitching as we speak. They think this is their year. So that's good, because sometimes the Rays, you know what I mean, the big names, but they're gonna try to get what they can to win now. And I think that's good.
That is absolutely good. And it's like, let the truth set you free here. Because this is exactly what I've been saying, Rock, from the very beginning, and this Rays team has never done it. The Lightning have demonstrated it, going all in, winning a couple of Stanley Cups. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when they needed to go all in for 2 years with Tom Brady, even that third year, going all in. And these are the comments from the general manager. This year's club is really strong, and this is according to Mark Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times. We have a chance to do special things, so I think we're going to be doing everything we can to make this club stronger, give it the best chance to win a World Series. Music to my ears. For me, I love that. I love that whole attitude. And honestly, you're exactly right. They're the best team in Major League Baseball, and you're not sure if you're going to be able to duplicate this. Give the Rays credit with their low spending and able to be still competitive, but you've got to win a World Series eventually, and I feel like this is the best opportunity to do it.
Yeah, and I'm around mostly every home game on their pregame, and just watching the vibe of this team, and it's a young team, and they're very confident, not cocky, just very confident. The thing about it, going in, Peter, into spring training, was like, oh man, they don't have the big bat. Where's the power going to come from? Where's the left-handed bat? Boy, they have proven everybody wrong. They can score runs. They can hit for power. They're feeling it. Starting pitching is good, but they've lost a lot of arms. And it's the same thing every year with every team. Every team. You never have enough pitching. When you look at a rotation, the beginning of the year, oh my God, I got class now. Look at the Shane McClanahan. Oh my God. And in the end, you never have enough. And it's hard. It's hard to acquire arms, because when the Rays make moves, they're thinking about now, but they're also thinking about a year or 2 years down the road. They have to, with that smaller payroll. But I really believe that they're going to acquire an arm or two, a bullpen. You may get a spot starter. Again, we haven't had to really see the opener. They're not opposed to doing that. But I just like the vibe. And the whole Wander Franco, depending on if you want to get into that or not,
yes,
that's a very, very interesting situation. Very interesting.
What do you make of that situation? Because he comes back, of course, he gets suspended for 2 games. He's not a quality teammate. You hear rumors out there that he's getting into an argument with Randy Arozarena, that he's getting into an argument with other players, and they basically sit him down. He doesn't say anything until afterwards, but comes out, hits a home run. He's still 22 years old. I was amazed at how many Rays fans say, oh, it's time to trade him to the Yankees. What? What are you talking about? You don't trade a 22-year-old prospect like that. And he's got all the potential in the world, Rock, to be one of the top young. He could already be one of the top young shortstops in Major League Baseball. What do you make of that whole situation with Wander Franco being sat down?
Yeah. Now, he doesn't speak English. I'm sure he knows. A lot of times they know English more than they come across.
Mm-hmm.
He's got an interpreter, Manny, who is a great guy, but it's hard to really, really get a good read on him when it's in Spanish and it's coming through a translator. Mm-hmm. I watch a lot of body movement. Okay, I watch how they interact with other guys. I was watching him at batting practice, his first game back. He goes on the left side, he starts, then he goes over onto the right side. It is amazing. I don't know if you've ever stood next to him. He is not a big guy. Now, I am 5'10". They might list him as 5'10". He's not even 5'10". Very compact, though. And his swing, him and Randy Arozarena, who also is not a big guy. You watch him in batting practice, and it's just, the ball like explodes off the bat. It's different. It even sounds different. He's so talented. You see him in pregame. You see the defense. You see the arm. So that is never been a question. But talking to people there this week, this kid has been a superstar since he is 15 years old. He's always played with older guys, and he's always dominated. No one has ever told him no. No one has ever benched him, ever. So there's more to it than just oh, he's throwing his bat when he's striking out, or he didn't run out a grounder. I thought it was telling when, through his interpreter, is there a player on the Rays that really has kind of helped you out? He said Zach Eflin. Now,
Mhm.
Zach Eflin is the new pitcher that came over from the Phillies, lives in Orlando. He's done a nice job. Quiet guy, good family man, real nice guy. But I was like, Zach Eflin. So Zach Eflin came over during batting practice. We're talking to him. And I thought it was interesting when the one sentence that he said, when I was at training camp, I noticed that Wander just he needs some love, and I'm here to give it to him. Like, wow. So there's more to it. Another example, the
Mhm.
first day back, it's Randy Arozarena Day. They had these blue shirts, or
Soccer
Arozarena's Day.
jerseys. Yeah. Yeah.
They'd rock the jerseys, and all the players during batting practice, everyone wore the Randy Arozarena jersey. Wander did not. He wore his own shirt. Not that that means anything, and it was his first day back. He's just, and the thing about it is, so we all assume
Mhm.
Kevin Cash is going to sit down his all star. Could be one of the best players in Major League Baseball, and you're fighting for a pennant. You're going to sit him down. Is this to send a message to some of the other young players? You got to get on board. But Neander, baseball boss Neander, and Cash, I was right there when Cash goes, that's the most ridiculous narrative that I've heard. It had nothing to do with sending a message. It was about Wander. He's being immature. There's a lot that comes with being a major league player. And he also said a couple of times, like, not being a good teammate. What exactly does that mean? I don't know. So it's the first time that he has ever sat down. And I can tell you, Peter, it reminded me, of course, Jameis Winston. Oh my God, I'm not here. I know. I'm not going to try to get it going on that.
That's all
But
right. We've had this conversation before, Rock Riley, on the Sports Web many times about Jameis Winston.
well, when he did that thing with the Uber driver,
Mhm.
and he was suspended, if you remember, and he had to leave the building for however long that suspension was. And then Fitzpatrick was the starter. So when Jameis came back, Dirk Cutter stayed with Fitzpatrick because Fitzpatrick was hot, and Jameis was a bench warmer and number two.
Mhm.
And in the locker room on Wednesdays, or not in the locker room, they have a media room. It's different at different teams.
Sure.
Usually Wednesday or Thursday, the starting quarterback always speaks in front of all the media. And Jameis normally would do that on a Wednesday or Thursday in the media room. And
Sure.
I noticed him, and it looked like he was kind of like moping around. And we went over to him. We said, Jameis, had you ever sat on the bench? Little League, he's a big baseball player, football, anything. He's like, I have never not been a starter. And if you're a superstar and
Mhm.
all of a sudden you're on the bench, like, wow, that can kind of jar you. So, and Devin White has been a star. Warren Sapp called him out and showed the video that he loafed on a play.
Right.
He admitted that, you know what, he apologized to his teammates. It took Sapp to do that. But how do they react going forward? Devin White kind of has reverted back. He's a little bit immature. I don't know if he's quite that bright. He's a heck of a player. So we don't know. And Cash also said this isn't a thing that's just going to be, oh, flip the switch. He saw what it was like to be away. He missed baseball, and now he's going to be better. He goes, this is going to go on throughout the entire season. They really are stressing. They like him. They know how good he is. They're
Mhm.
not looking to even like, oh, this guy's that much of a problem. It's just, as you said, he's 22. He got a guaranteed $185 million contract. If you were 22 years old, I know you got that watch from Jake Paul, but if
Yes.
you were 22 years old and had $185 million guaranteed, how do you act? How do you act? So we're going to find out over time, but it's a very, very interesting story.
It is a very interesting situation and a very interesting story. We're on with longtime TV and radio personality, Mr. Rock Riley. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. I tell you right now, Rock, the fans, they want to talk to you. So I'll give out the phone numbers if you want to call in and talk about this situation when it has to do with the Tampa Bay Rays. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, in case you can't get through, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. To answer your question, I'm 22 years old. I'm making $186 million. Do everything I can to stay in the house. Do everything I can to stay away from the clubs. Do everything I can to be the best teammate possible, because guess what? I want that second contract because I believe in my ability and I know I can make more than $186 million. Let's go out to the phone lines. Mr. Ron himself, Marine from Tampa. Welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with Rock Riley.
Hey, Rock, Riley. Hey, Pete, man, what's going on tonight?
What's going on, buddy? We're talking Wander Franco here and about the Tampa Bay Rays. And then, of course, we're going to switch gears here in just a little bit and talk about Shaun King's comments about Kyle Trask. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, Pete, I just want to say good interlude into the show.
Thank you.
You have the best. Hey, Rock, I remember you, sir. Even from years back, I want to say the 2005 time frame. I think you had a show on one of the news channels.
Yes, he did. Absolutely.
I used to watch you a lot, sir, with my son. He was so young then. He's actually a commissioned officer now.
Awesome.
So we've come such a long way. But, like, yeah, man, I really liked your analysis and everything, and I used to enjoy watching you. And I remember those were some fun years. We were competitive then.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. And that's why we got the great Rock Riley on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, because there's lots of fans of him throughout the years. So what do you think about this Wander Franco and Tampa Bay Rays situation, Marine?
I didn't really get the full details on it, but I feel maybe Kevin Cash or the organization did what they felt they needed to do.
Right.
But Rock brought up a good point. Like some people don't know how to really adjust to. It's funny you said Spanish, because I guess I could have helped out in that spot. I mean, I've been coming to the Dominican Republic for so long. I mean, and actually I'm here right now again.
Wow.
Spanish is pretty good, but anyway, Rock, I guess I could have helped good old Franco out, but or Franco. Yeah, no, in all seriousness, but like that's comment about like Warren Sapp. I just think we know the type of person that Warren Sapp is. Right. I loved him as a player.
Right.
I really did. He was great, but he likes to stir stuff up. And, if he wanted to pick on anyone, he probably should have picked on Gerald McCoy a little bit more, because I saw him loafing on a ton of plays. And he was overrated, in my opinion. I don't think he was ever as great as some people made him out to be. He was never anywhere to be found to make any huge play in a game that was a game-changing turnover, sack. I mean, I'm not saying he was not a good player,
right,
but I think Sapp likes to stir crap up, and he just was kind of picking on Devin.
Well, I mean, the proof was in the pudding. I mean, Ron, it's on film. He's definitely not putting in full effort at the end of the day. He's missing tackles. He's taking bad angles on those tackles. And look, he's supposed to be the defensive leader of your team. I get it. Levante David is still on it, but he's moving on. And if you're going to pay a guy $100 million, he has to play better than he did. And it is a direct reflection on his leadership for that Bucs defense, because Rock, if he isn't showing that effort, which is what Sapp called him out for, and Ron, thanks a lot for the call, man. Appreciate it as always. I mean, he brings it up, Sapp calling him out. You have to also have some thick skin and rise to the occasion. You can't be, going and doing this thing that you're doing over the offseason with the cryptic, messages on Twitter and talking to other guys on other teams. I get it, they're your teammates. You're still under contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And going back to the Wander Franco situation, he is a big piece of what the Rays are going to do. My thought is that you have to have some leadership there, and he has to look to a guy like a leader. Randy Arozarena, is that the guy? They got into an argument. I mean, is there enough leadership on this team? I think there is. My thing is with Wander Franco and Devin White, because they are young superstars and they have so much potential, especially Franco. What I'm worried about is Kevin Cash being undercut simply because the Rays have invested so much money in Franco.
Yeah, from my understanding, it wasn't just a Kevin Cash decision.
Okay.
Leander, all the front office staff, Stu, everybody was involved in that. So that was an organizational decision to sit him down to show him you gotta be a better teammate. You gotta stop doing that. And again, from what I understand, they were thinking about doing this a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
So it's over time. You know what I mean? And I see him when he BP or infield, or he even has this thing where he was over near his locker before a game, and he has a baseball, and he just drops and catches it, drops, catches it, drops, catches it, drops, catches it. He's constantly working on stuff. So, I mean, I think, and there's some people that are questioning the Rays going public with that, and the way I look at it is, how it goes. There's reporters there. Mark Topkin is one of the best in the business. They have a couple of other good beat writers. And the day that it happened, that they did that 2-game suspension or benching, whatever you want to call it, Cash comes out at a certain time every day to talk to the media. Baseball managers talk before and after. It's like in hockey, morning skate and after. Football coaches never talk before a game. It's baseball, basketball, and shoot around, and that's the way it is in baseball. So we were waiting. Some days it's 3:30. Some days it's 4 o'clock. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Now comes Kevin Cash. He comes out because they were having the big meeting. And then he had to tell Wander Franco, Wander, we're sitting you down for two games. So he came out. Now, should he have lied? Is that what you want? And you could do that and say, because he's not going to be in the starting lineup. Why is Wander not in the lineup? Has he got an injury? What was Cash supposed to do? Is he supposed to make up an injury? Is he going to say he's tired? We're just going to give him off a day, 2 days at 22 years old? He figured, and the other thing is, if he did do that, and you know how it goes, word gets around. Sure. If that comes out in the media, Kevin Cash lied. Now, Kevin Cash, you lied. Well, I'm trying to protect my player. People are going, oh, Cash is a liar. Do you see what I'm saying? So he figured, he comes out a half hour late, and he figures, look, I'm going to tell you right now, he's been an immature teammate. We believe in him. He's a young guy at the major league level, 22 years old. We are going to send him away for 2 days, and we want him to learn from this. And that's what he did. And I have no problem with that because, look, a lot of times we're always, oh, these players are being babied. Sure. Come on, man. That's not real life. If you're not doing it at your job, your boss is going to tell you flat out, or he might tell some other guys. So I really didn't have any problem on the way the Rays handled that situation.
I didn't either. And, the comments from Franco here, I think it's a situation that's in God's hands, can be controlled. Again, he said this through his interpreter. In my opinion, I think I just got to be able to control the situations because I know that's my problem. He said also, I've been with this organization for a long time, and I think they controlled the situation well with the errors that I made. And you spoke about Zach Eflin, and he even said this, and you talked about Cash flipping a switch, but Eflin said, I'm always there for him. I'm not going to stop loving him. I think some people in this world need that. Some people don't come from normal families or whatnot. I try not to get deep with it, but I'm just trying to relate to him as much as possible. Tell you what, let's go out to the phone lines. Eric, welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with the great Rock Riley on the Sports Web. What's on your mind?
Peter, Rock, I'm a big fan. Just, I'm the Wander. I mean, hey, the first at bat he came back. He hit a home run.
Right.
So hopefully, he's 22 years old. He's young. Hopefully, I know he's been scuffling a little, but he's hitting like 143 in his last 7 games. But he had 2 hits in his first game back. So
I think it's what it is. Also, it's frustration with him. He is 22 years old, and Rock mentioned it. He's had so much success since he was 15 years old. He's a top prospect. He's never told no. So now, as a 22-year-old man, but he's still a kid to a certain degree, right? He's dealing with that adverse situation, and he's not sure how to get out of it. But that's baseball. We all know it. It works in ebbs and flows. Sometimes you're not hitting home runs. We know he wants to hit more home runs. We know that he wants to contribute more. I think the thing that's disappointing is not only the arguments off the field with other teammates, and I've heard it's not just Randy, it's other guys, but also the lack of effort, not doing this, not doing that. When you know, as a fan watching this, and you know that Ray's organization expects more out of him.
Yeah, like I heard the ball against the Pirates. He flipped the ball to himself. I mean,
right. To me, that wasn't. I get it. It's showboating. A lot of people say the same thing about Randy. He's not showing effort. No, he's showboating. Both of those players, are doing their thing. What did you think of that? Are people making too big of a deal about that, Rock, with the showboating with Randy and, of course, Wander?
Well, you know what? A lot of times, if you watch the World Baseball Classic and you see some of the Latin players, the Latin fans, they have this this passion, and it's they're chanting, they do dancing. It's just like part of their nature. And he is so talented that he just flipped it quick and he threw it. And I know a lot of old schoolers don't like that. I know that they believe that the next time up that he should get one in his ear. You know what? This is 2023. He's 22 years old. He is so talented. I didn't really have a problem with it, but if he takes it to another level and starts showboating, then I will have a problem. But that one incident like that, no. And you know what? Cash was funny because he was asked about that. And he goes, my biggest problem, I have a 12-year-old kid and he plays baseball. I've seen it out there. He's taking grounders. It's incredible. And he goes, when I get home, he's going to tell me he wants to flip the ball like Wander. And we said, what are you going to tell him? I'm going to tell him, you ain't Wander.
It's good stuff there, Rock Riley. Eric, what else? I know you want to talk about the Trask situation. We're going to get to those comments in a moment. But, Eric, what did you feel? How did you feel about Shaun King and basically saying in so many words, Kyle Trask is not very good. He stinks. He stinks.
I mean, I'm a Florida Gator guy.
Okay.
I was kind of even kill on it, and I was like, okay, this can work out. This can go really bad. I heard Dak Prescott. I don't think they're saying that the Bucs can go after Dak Prescott, but I don't see that.
No, they're not. They're going to stick with their two quarterbacks at this at the juncture. They're going to go with Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask, and they're going to have this competition. You're a Gator fan. Do you have faith that Kyle Trask is going to eventually win the starting job for the Bucs this year?
It's going to be a battle.
Your silence speaks volumes, my friend. Eric, thanks a lot for the call. We appreciate you. Use your second call, all right?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and read some of these comments, and then we will get to the Kyle Trask comments from Shaun King. We're on with the great Rock Riley. Mike says, Gators getting pummeled in the College World Series, should be drinking. Sorry about that. Roger says, first, where you at, Troy? Adam says the Reds have come out of nowhere to climb into Major League Baseball's top 10 this week. I mean, they've been a big-time story. The Rays have been a big-time story. They had an article come out that the Rays and attendance, Rock, is up 24%. So believe it or not, there's actually Tampa Bay Rays in the Tampa Bay area. It's amazing. Let's see here. Mike says a funny story about Rock Riley in 2011, called his radio show. When he wouldn't stop talking about being in Gator recovery, after 5 minutes, he hung up on me. Roger says, I'll be in and out. Adam says, I can't follow college sports. Too many teams to keep up with. Christopher Cole, hey, guys, I can't believe just a few more weeks until training camp starts. Absolutely. Roger says, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Trask, amen. I shall acknowledge you. Me. And then I'll do this to you. This guy sucks. KR says, hey, guys. KR again. I'm second. KR, the Rays are having their ups and downs right now, but they need to get a closer. KR brings up a good point. Is that where you think their Achilles heel could be, where they could be addressing what their general manager said, going all in for a closer, Rock?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. That is their Achilles heel. That's what they're looking for. Bullpen and closer. And like I said, those guys don't grow on trees. They're very hard to get, especially if they're doing well. Another team isn't going to give them up. But the Rays are all in at this trade deadline, believing this is the year.
I can't believe it. It's, again, music to my ears. I mean, it's amazing. And now hopefully they can spend over $100 million. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen. I like to see it happen. And I know I get it. A lot of people say you don't necessarily have to do that. But if the race could just spin midway, because I always bring up this statistic, Rock, there has not been a team that has been lower than 15 to win a World Series since the 2003 Florida Marlins, and they were like 26th. So it really does not happen at all. So again, the Rays are having the up and downs. Everyone in the American League East has been playing poorly the last 10 days, not just the Rays. KR, let's keep it real. Kyle is going to have to earn the job. Baker has a leg over him. Just saying. Christopher, Peter, do you have field passes for media during practice? I'm not sure yet. We'll see. We'll check back with you. Roger says, hey, KR, welcome in. Mike, again, I feel much better if the Rays win tomorrow. Of course, they face the Arizona Diamondbacks on the road. Rock is the man. He absolutely is. Hey, Mr. Shu, this is Ed here. Hey, Peter, the great. Thank you. Ron, hey, Pete, can I call in? You did. Christopher Cole, last check, the Gators are down 10-2 in the fifth. Uh-oh. Mike says, same situation that happened with BJ Upton. You agree with that? You were here. You covered BJ. Is that the same situation? Highly talented, number one overall pick, lots of potential, but he had his difficulties at first too, right?
You know what? That is a very good point. Evan Longoria got into it in the dugout with BJ Upton. He thought that he was kind of like loafing a little bit out in the outfield. But there weren't a lot of situations with BJ Upton. I really liked him. He had this slow, the way he ran, it looked like he wasn't going fast. He actually was going faster than that gait that he had. But BJ actually was a really good guy. He was a big FSU fan, even though he didn't even go there. I know you got a lot of Gators.
I didn't even know that.
Oh, huge. We were when the Noles won the national championship, and the whole thing, the comeback, and I'm on the field at the Rose Bowl,
right?
And it was crazy. That you can imagine 100,000. The fans, they stormed the field. The place is going crazy. FSU had the unbelievable comeback. And I get a tap on my shoulder. I turn around. It's BJ Upton. He has an FSU jacket on. He was just grinning. I go, BJ, you're here? You really? You're that big of an FSU fan? He goes, I am. So, but, it's 162 games. Don't even count all of the spring training. These guys are around each other every single day. You're around other guys that much. You're going to have some instances. But for the Rays to sit him down, there's more than just a couple of instances. I think that's fair to say.
Absolutely. All right, let's go out to Mike again. We unleashed the bats too early yesterday. Mike says Rays baseball. Mike again, Buccaneers and Gators football. Christopher Cole, Mike Stover, yes, they should have saved some of the runs for tonight. If I had $185 million, I wouldn't show my ass. Okay, Mike, Mickey, I agree with you. I wouldn't do the same thing. Mickey says, hey, everyone. And Roger Shu says, Bears win the NFC North this year. Fields player of the year. We're going to switch gears, but let's go with that. Big time Chicago Bear fan, Homer Roger Shu here, the moderator of this chat. What do you think about the Chicago Bears' chances, especially with Aaron Rodgers now out of that division? Can Justin Fields do what Jalen Hurts did last year and take that next progression, if you will?
I think that he is a more talented, better player than he has showed.
Okay.
Part of that is what he has had around him. Okay. It's kind of hard to be a superstar. I think the Bears are going to be decent. And you're right. Who else? I mean, you look at that division. I'm not a believer in the successor to Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. So the Bears have a shot, but Justin Fields has to take that next step up. I saw him at the Super Bowl. He was walking around doing a lot of interviews. I talked to him at Radio Row, which is called Media Row now, because everybody has video. It's no longer just radio. And he sounded very, very confident, and very excited about this season. So let's just put it like that.
All right, so good stuff there. Let's go out to quarterbacks, because that's the main story here in Tampa Bay. Who's going to win out? Is it going to be Kyle Trask? Is it going to be Baker Mayfield? Former Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterback Shaun King had these comments. Still in research mode with Tampa. I got boots in the ground there in Tampa. Every practice, I'm getting reports, because I think if what I think is true, their tremendous betting value with Tampa Bay. But I'm also trying to really grasp on why this win total is as low as it is at 6.5, specifically because of the division of the Bucs are in, the NFC South. Let's be fair, the worst division in the NFC this year. And then he goes on to say about Kyle Trask. Kyle Trask stinks. Listen, if Kyle Trask had done anything in practice during his 2 years backing up Tom Brady, Tampa doesn't go out and sign Baker Mayfield. He even had to have he had to been terrible in practice, because when you draft a quarterback second round, goes on to say, I believe you expect more out of him, and it hasn't necessarily happened at this whole deal. So you've been out there, you've covered this team. What have you seen with this quarterback competition? I get it. It's tough to judge because they're not in shoulder pads yet. They're in t-shirt and shorts, but kind of give us what you think about King's comments and what you've seen out there in the minicamp.
Well, there is one part of what Shaun, and I respect Shaun because he does know quarterback play. And he says that if Trask had shown a lot more, maybe they wouldn't have gone out for a quarterback like Baker Mayfield to compete, and the job would be his. I will tell you this. A lot of the defensive players that we talked to this offseason, OTAs and minicamp, and some other offensive players, they said they noticed a big difference in Trask's confidence because he's got a legitimate shot to be the number one guy. When he was there with Brady and Blaine Gabbert, they busted his chops so bad. He was always thought of as the rookie. He was always running the scout team. When you're the quarterback running the scout team, you're not running the offensive plays that Brady is running. You are basically mimicking the opposing quarterback that's coming in, and that was his job.
Right.
So he knew he never had a shot. He wasn't even going to be dressed. And if Brady went down, they were going to go with more of a veteran, Blaine Gabbert. Because not only did Gabbert know that offense inside and out, he came from Arizona, and it was the offense that Arians ran, so that he really knew the offense. They weren't going to go with a rookie or a second-year guy that had no experience at all. Now, we fast forward to now. You should see the difference in how lean he is. He knew that in this offense, there's a lot of waggles, there's a lot of boots, there's rollouts. He's going to be called on to run more. With Brady, it was boom, boom, boom. There was no running, and that was that offense. So he lost weight. I even asked him, I said, were you on the TB12 diet? He goes, I don't know about that, but he's very lean. And Dave Canales, who's the new offensive coordinator, told us he can move pretty good. It isn't like he's a mobile quarterback, but you got to be able to move outside the pocket. Same thing with Mayfield. Now, when I watch their throwing, Mayfield has a very strong arm. He's only 6'1", and Trask is like 6'5". It's noticeable when they come up, they're standing next to each other or at the line of scrimmage.
Sure.
Trask also has a fairly strong arm, but it's more than the arm, because there was one practice during minicamp. I was telling that to Ira Kaufman from Joe Buck's Fan. We were doing his podcast. We were sitting there over there, and I was like, Sage, there was drops. The ball was on the ground a lot. It was just, and Ira, who's covered the NFL this is his 47th year. He's like, that's a bad practice. You are going to have days with a bad practice. I was like, okay. The next day they came out, much better, much crisper. The thing about it is, when I'm watching 11 on 11, not 7 on 7, 11 on 11. And again, there's no hitting, but they're coming. And what they were doing that I'd never seen before during minicamp, they were calling the plays on the fly, because Canales, he's got to get used to calling plays. Sure. He came from Seattle. He was a good quarterbacks coach. He's never called plays before. So it was like it was game situation. Like they were calling plays. The defense knows the system. All right. There's going to be a lot of blitzing again. Ryan Neal, the new DB, was like, oh my God, this is an aggressive defense. But the offense, it's so different from what you've seen with Brady. So different. A lot of movement, a lot of shifting, a lot of stuff. but they're also just learning it, Peter. So it's not going to happen overnight. So that's what I'm thinking.
I love it. Let me go out to the phone lines here. Adam, you're on the Sports Web with yours truly, along with the great Rock Riley. What's on your mind tonight, my friend?
Hey there, guys. Rock, you've been a fan of mine. I've been living in Tampa Bay for 45 years. We go way back. This is probably my first time ever talking with you. And Peter, you guys are awesome. And I'm so proud to be a fan of Tampa Bay sports. Think how far we've come. When I first moved to Tampa Bay, it was just the Bucks, and we had Doug Williams and 3 playoffs out of 4 years, and then he was tossed to the curb. And then what did he do? He won a Super Bowl with an MVP with the Redskins. Right. 10 years of futility with the Bucks, including Ray Perkins and those 2 years with Lehman Bennett. 2-14 in the Repus Bowl. We finally got that out of the woods with Tony Dungy, thank goodness, and then the Super Bowl and then Tom Brady. So they're good and great. And then Joe Madden comes along with the Rays and now Kevin Cash. And then we've got the Lightning with Phil Esposito. We have 3 amazing teams. Think of how far we've come, Rock. Where it was just perennial losing teams with the Bucks, and now we've got the best sports town in America. What do you think, Rock?
That's why it's called Tampa Bay, my man. Right? Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. Yep. It's a good time, and you know how it goes because there were years where, oh my God, Boston was winning everything, and I remember when the Lightning made a run. They were one win away from going to the Stanley Cup final. They lost in Boston. And it was like we went outside and all these fans were just bombarding us. I'm like, I'm so sick of Boston winning all the time. And now this is where we are. This is where Tampa Bay is. It really is a great time. No doubt, man.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got all of the tools with the Buccaneers for us to be able to, I think, easily make the playoffs this year if we play our cards right.
How many wins are you looking at, Adam? How many wins? Because the national media and Rock, you know this all too well. We've heard about the negativity and the pessimism with this Buccaneer team. How many wins, Adam, do you think the Bucs can have? Or is it over under 8 from last year?
Oh yeah, I'm giving them 9 or 10, but we need to have a solid quarterback who doesn't make any kind of mistakes. You know, we can't have a Jameis Winston type of quarterback. Doesn't matter how many record touchdowns, you can't make any mistakes on a top quality team.
Right.
So that's what the Bucs need this season. So that's what they need to focus their training camp on, is getting a solid quarterback for this particular team. For the Rays, I'm with Rock. We've got the best team in baseball. You know, we a few hiccups, and I agree. Our pitching is what, and just like you said, every team in baseball, you start with a whole roster of all-star potential, and then you have these injuries, these season-ending injuries.
Yeah.
And for the Lightning, you know, Stamkos just won his award today. We're going to be in the playoffs as long as we have that kind of management for the Lightning for seasons to come.
Love it. I got to ask you, Adam, and then we got to run, and you can call back if you want to use that second phone call. We appreciate your first-time caller. I know that you found me on Facebook. We're on with Rock Riley, but who is the quarterback in your mind? Is it going to be Kyle Trask, or is it going to be Baker Mayfield, in your opinion?
We're going to start it with Trask.
Okay. Wow.
They're going to give him at least 3/4 of a season. They drafted him. They have to give that try to him. But Baker is his sounding board. Baker is going to be his guiding light for him.
Okay. All right, Adam. Appreciate the call. Oh, yeah. Use the second call right there. Open phone line 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, in case you can't get through, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. along with TV and radio personality, longtime legend in the Tampa Bay area, Mr. Rock Riley. A big popular fan base you got right now. Everybody calling in to talk to you, talk to me about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How do you think this plays out? I know where we're at right now. I know it's early in the process, but everything you hear, it's Baker Mayfield's job to lose. Is that what you come out of this? Or do you, again, think that Trask has a legitimate opportunity to win this starting job, Rock?
I think because Todd Bowles is on the hot seat. I think he knows it. I think the Glazers know that if they don't have a winning season, I think that they would not be opposed to making a move for a new head coach. So he wants to win. He's going to put the bet. It's not a matter of, Trask has been here for 2 years. He got drafted in the second round. By the way, it was the last pick of the second round, almost third round. But it doesn't matter. You're here now. It doesn't matter. That's a couple of years ago.
Right.
I think he's got a legitimate chance. They're looking to see one, step it up and rise above, and you'll be my guy. It looks to me they are splitting the reps. I will tell you that. You go there, Baker Mayfield's getting the ones where the first, to start out, and then it comes Trask. You go the next day, Trask will start. There's more days where Baker Mayfield is the number one guy. Kyle Trask is 3 of 9. He's only attempted 9 passes ever in the NFL, where look at the amount of experience Baker Mayfield has. If I were to be betting right now, I would say that they will start with the more experienced guy if it's equal coming out of training camp. Now, Canales had said the number one thing for him is not turning the ball over, giving them a chance. Let's say that both quarterbacks are both not turning it over in practice, in the joint practice when they go practice the Jets in New Jersey with Aaron Rodgers. That's going to be unbelievable. And it looks like now the Jets are going to be on HBO. That was the word today. So, that's going to be unbelievable. I got to get up there and then the play. But anyway, however, Canales was on a podcast with the Pewter Report, and it was interesting. He was like, in Seattle, obviously Russell Wilson was number one. And then you had, what's his name, that really had come through and got the big contract.
Geno Smith.
Yes, Geno. And he goes, there was one preseason. They were both about the same in completions in all the practices and all the games. And they were about the same. But the more explosive plays, a couple of more touchdowns, Russell Wilson. So if it's even, they're not turning it over, their completion rate is about the same, who makes the bigger play, the more splash play, the one that has a few more touchdowns, that's who it's going to go to. And it could be that they're going to be neck and neck. Now, the thing about it is, when I'm noticing at practice when the defense is there, Baker Mayfield he's got that like a little bit of a gunslinger mentality. You know what I mean? And I like that. But that also can translate to picks, to interceptions. And Canales was saying, he's got to work on his footwork more. Now, when we talked to Trask, he was saying that he's a changed man. A lot of it is off the field. He's learned. This is his last chance to be a starting quarterback. Let's face it. So, and they're both learning a new offense at the same time. It isn't like, Trask has been here 2 years, so he has a leg up on Mayfield. No, I'm telling you, when you watch this offense, Peter and your audience, it is so different. So much end arounds, waggles, motion. It's so different from the Arians Brady offense. It's totally different.
I can't wait to see it. And we've heard from Levante David say, there's so many different looks and motion and everything like that. And also, you believe that this offense is going to be predicated on the run game, which, at the end of the day, we talked about it. Jameis Winston, I feel like if he had a running game, you cut down those throws, then you curtail those turnovers. I think they're envisioning the same thing with the Baker Mayfield. And we've seen Mayfield in this league be able to perform and throw for over 20 touchdowns and touchdown and interception ratio be down. So, and he's had the run game, but you don't talk about the weapons on this team, and a lot of people should. You still have Mike Evans. You still have Chris Godwin. Hopefully Russell Gage can stay healthy. You got Cade Otton. But again, the emphasis is going to be on the run game, and if you take that pressure off a quarterback who does have that gunslinger mentality, and you have a suffocating defense, and we know that Todd Bowles wants that, who knows? Maybe you can win some games with being a DLG quarterback or game manager, if you will.
No, you don't know. And he's not, I looked it up. He's not that old. I think Baker Mayfield is like 27.
Yeah, he was a first overall pick in 2018. I mean, the potential is there.
Oh, and you know what? He'll let you know it, because he said I asked him something. I can't remember. It might have been at Arian's golf outing. He and Trask showed up at the same time. Hysterical. No, they were not in the same foursome, and they had different golf carts, but they came from the facility, and they went all the way from Tampa over to Innisbrook. So the tournament was about to get, and then they went over. And I asked, I can't remember what it was that I asked him, and he goes, I was number one for a reason. I was the number one pick overall. I'm like, okay, all right.
There you go. That's a Baker Mayfield. All right, I know you got to run. I really appreciate the time. All the callers love you here on the Sports Web, so definitely don't be a stranger.
Gotcha.
But it was announced there's going to be no Ring of Honor for the Bucs. They're just going to celebrate Rondé Barber, and then of course they're bringing back the creamsicle on October 15th. But Levante David says it's not going to be the same as 2012. So kind of unwrap some of this stuff that's come out.
Yeah, that surprised us. I think it always does come down to cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Right.
So you bring back the creamsicle, but you do a little bit of a tweak. So that way it's a one-time only collector's item. So you got to get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's so funny, Peter, that, when they wore the creamsicle, they were bad. They were Buccaneers. They were Succaneers. And isn't it funny how everyone wants to see it? It's a good thing. The player, Jamel Dean, was like, man, I was saying, I hope that I'm on this roster when they bring that back. I've been waiting to wear that. It was the same thing with the Devil Rays. The Devil Rays were bad.
They were awful.
They wore the throwbacks the other night, and you should hear all the players there loving it. So what was old, it comes back around. I haven't had a chance. Now, I did interview Joel Glazer for my podcast, and that was out at the NFL owners meetings. I didn't have a chance to ask him, though, why no Ring of Honor this year? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I'm looking forward. I am going to go to Canton to be there when Rondé gets in, so that's going to be nice. Rondé is a well-loved guy. I'm sure everyone loves Rondé. But I have no idea why there's no Ring of Honor this year. I'll find out, though.
Yeah, and I don't know, Rock, and I tell you right now, a lot of names are being thrown out there. Hardy Nickerson, James Wilder, even Simeon Rice. I would throw this out there, and it may be unpopular, but you strike while the iron is hot. The greatest of all time, and Tom Brady just retired. You put him in the Ring of Honor, much like B.A. My friend Leo Haggerty disagrees. He says that would be a disgrace, but what Brady brought to this franchise – and just being in the short time there with the Super Bowl and franchise, changing, transformer, to me, I think the Glazers would take advantage of it. Do you believe that Tom Brady belongs in the Ring of Honor, yes or no?
I believe definitely that he belongs in the Bucs Ring of Honor, but a little too soon for me.
Okay.
He's going to be going to Fox. He's got so much that he's doing. He's going to be honored by the Patriots, and rightfully so this year. So I think give it a little bit of time and it will be good. Let me tell you something. I know an advertiser, a sponsor, with the Buccaneers.
Okay.
He told me in his contract, it is 15% more in money that he had to pay the Bucs while Brady was on the roster. Brady brought so much money and relevance to this organization. Let's call it like it is. So believe me, the Glazers didn't really want him to retire. They would have hoped maybe another year. But you know what? And I was a huge Brady fan of watching him and practicing all this. His arm was still good. But when you're up high and you're looking down the game, he didn't want to get hit. And they had no running attack. Brady even said himself, we're a passathon. When it's a passathon and the opponents know what's coming, we're not going to be any good. So I actually thought it was time. I'm glad he's not going to come back. Peter, yes, I think he belongs, but give it a little bit of time, Peter.
Love it. Thank you very much for the time, Mr. Rock Riley. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend.
Yeah, you can follow me on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram at Real Rock Riley, RealRock, Facebook, Rock Riley, and then Joe Buck fan, Tampa Free Press. So there, and of course, with Peter Blake, the one, the only.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. We'll see you soon here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. Take care, all right?
You got it, Peter.
All right, good stuff there, Mr. Rock Riley. Longtime TV personality, longtime radio personality. How about that? I saw that you called there, Jim. Call back if you want to. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go out to KR. Oh, boy, Roger, you are on hopes and dreams. Let's go out to the phone lines. Ask and you shall receive. Mr. Jim Sutton. Damn it, Jim. Welcome back to the evolution. What's on your mind, my friend?
Oh, man. I see we got a quarterback controversy, huh?
Well, we got something brewing, and it's going to continue to brew here for the next couple months. Is it going to be Kyle Trask as your starting quarterback, or is it going to be Baker Mayfield? Where do you stand on this?
I would start the veteran first. I don't care, you mess up sometimes, but
smart man. Yeah, that's where I'm going too. I mean, you go with the guy that has the most game experience, and I get it. There's a love affair with the Bucs finally developing a young quarterback, but I don't know if you do that at the expense of Todd Bowles' job security. I'm not sure if you do that with the talent, and I'm just not sure if Mr. Kyle Trask can get it done going forward. Now, I've been wrong before, and I'm able to come on the show and say that I'm wrong. I just see Baker Mayfield, the potential being a number one overall pick. I get it. He does have some decision-making situations that are not necessarily the best for him and may hurt this Bucs team going forward if he does commit those turnovers. But I feel like if you run the ball, if you take the pressure off of the quarterback situation, it opens up play action. It makes your offense, not one-dimensional, more balanced, and you're able to go down the field to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Russell Gage. What do you say?
Yep.
All right.
I think you start Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
And then, you can bring Kyle Trask along, and if he plays better in practice, I would put him in.
But what do you think of Shaun King's comments of saying Trask stinks? He stinks.
I don't know about Kyle Trask yet. I ain't heard nothing but I don't know why. I can't say he stinks. I ain't never seen him but a couple times. So.
Right.
But he's still young, so I think he needs to train up under the guy that been playing.
All right, my friend. What else is on your mind here on the Sports Web?
Not much how our defense looking.
I mean, overall, you're missing Shaq Barrett. He's coming off an injury, but everything you hear, and you take it for what it is, right? I mean, you're in shorts and a T-shirt. You haven't put the pads on yet, but, the Bucs, they wanted to get younger, right? They wanted to get stronger at the point of attack, and they've done that. So we'll see how that all plays out this year. But my question is Shaq Barrett going to be ready from the first game? We're not sure about that. They re-signed Anthony Nelson. They got a little younger there with Kalijah Kancey. You still have Vita Vea in the middle. So you got to get after the quarterback. And you know what? Joe Tryon-Shoyinka has to have a big year. We always talk about it. Former first-round pick for this team, hasn't been able to finish consistently. Can he do it this year? He needs to do it this year, especially with the Barrett injury, in my opinion.
Yes, he definitely need to show up and show out.
Absolutely. So, I mean, to answer your question, everything, so far so good. Knock on wood, no major injuries defensively. You've got Antoine Winfield Jr. They're really high on this kid, Ryan Neal from Seattle. now, Winfield Jr. can go back to his natural position. Is Devin White going to be a distraction going forward? Levante David re-signs. How good is he going to be this year with, another year older? But can Todd Bowles and that defense generate enough pressure to get after the quarterback consistently? If they can, then we know, how good this defense can be.
Is that veteran defensive lineman? Did he stay?
Which one?
The one they picked up from.
They got Gaines from the Rams as a defensive tackle. They let go William Golston. He hasn't re-signed. They did not re-sign Akeem Hicks. They went young. They went very young. They got Yaya Diaby in the 3rd round. They went after a couple other pass rushers in the later rounds. I mean, it's going to be a great competition to see, who shows out. But at the end of it, for this competition, it's going to come down to, can Shaq Barrett come back fully healthy? You're not sure. You have Anthony Nelson, you have Joe Tryon, Shayenka, and then everybody else follows for me. And can they generate enough consistently? That's what it comes down to.
They got a young guy to help out Vita Vea.
Right, exactly. And that's the reason why you drafted Kalijah Kancey, because not only can he play inside, he can play outside. I think Todd Bowles is going to be able to move him around just a little bit. And this run defense kind of took a step back. And we talked about it with Devin White. The effort's got to be there, but also that line had to get younger. They felt like they're going to get younger. So we'll see how it plays out with getting a Gaines from the Rams and the other players on this team. What else, Jim? Damn it, Jim.
Man, it sounds pretty good to me. I'm ready for the season. So.
I'm ready for the season, too. I tell you right now, we have not talked in a little bit. How are you feeling about this season? How many wins can you say could you see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers having in 2023? Go ahead and give me an estimate.
I think we can pull out 10.
Okay.
That's playoffs, right?
Playoffs. You got playoffs, and then how many wins? Over 8 from last year?
Yeah, let's go 9 or 10.
All right, 9 and 10. Good.
I don't know how many we get in the playoffs, but we'll see when we get there.
Well, you just got to get in. Once you get in, then everything can change. Jim, thanks a lot for the call. We appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah.
Right there, longtime Buccaneer fan, longtime caller of the Sports Web, Mr. Jim. Damn it, Jim. Keep on calling in. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Bucs know what Baker can do, but they need to find out what Trask can do. And I continue to go back to this, that they're going to give him every opportunity, right? I mean, they're going to give him every opportunity in training camp. They're going to fight it out. They're going to decide who is the best quarterback for this team going forward. And if Trask does not perform in training camp, he does not perform in those preseason situations, because I think it does vary. You have 3 preseason games, but the coaches know who they want to pick out of training camp. They know. So who is going to show out? Is it going to be Trask or is it going to be Baker Mayfield? Let's go on to Roger. Where's the Greek? He is on vacation. Was supposed to be back in town, but his flight got delayed. Bucs have a worse record than the Bears. I will take that bet, my friend, from you. I've already, you bet me on wings, and you owe me wings also. This is the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go out to Dave Canales and care of Pewter Report. Our good buddy over there, J.C. Allen, doing some big things, interviewing Dave Canales. And he says one of the things that would be really obvious to Bucs fans and everybody else watching from the outside, else watching from the outside, is Baker's got a way more game time experience. So you see the comfort level that he has in the huddle with the guys. There's some cool leadership stuff coming out of him, his ability to do that. He's done it for so long. And then he's got, some familiarity in the system coming from LA. So some of that was pretty fluid. He also says one of the things that jumped out right away is his ability to throw the ball down the field to anybody. We just heard that from Rock. Undersized guy, but it's got a cannon. We heard this from BA a couple years ago, how he can make every throw that a National Football League, coach and general manager want. Putting the ball in a catchable place down the field, I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm used to this. Whether it was Russell Wilson or Geno, I'm used to this guy being able to launch it. I think one of the things that Baker has also brought is that ability to know when to fold them and say, this is not the coverage for this play. Get it down quick. Get it out. Next play. He also goes on to say, and this is from the Pewter Report podcast, when Baker can improve is just his specific footwork and timing for the different concepts as he gets to learn. Because while we learned so much football from Sean McVay and the Rams through offensive coordinator Shane Waldron in Seattle, a lot of our pass game was built and designed around Russell and carried over. We learned all our answers that way. So there are some things that Baker is still learning that he likes. So we're working on those things. He also has this to say about Trask. As far as Kyle goes, I think one of the coolest things that popped up for me was his ability to see the vertical seams on all go 4 verts, 2x2, 3x1, empty sets with some end of the game situations. His ability to see where the defender is at, this guy running vertically, and layer the ball, put it on his back shoulder, throwing it lower. He had all kinds of cool throws in between the numbers. Probably one of the coolest things was like, hey, I haven't had a lot of 6'5" quarterbacks. It's like there's some different voids that he could take advantage of, and he's still being that tall. He also says, I was pleasantly surprised by his mobility in the boot game. We talked about the motion. Rock just talked about it, how this offense is different, how you didn't see the boot game with Tom Brady. Why? Because he's a statue. He's a different quarterback. You have the mobility with Kyle Trask. You have the mobility with Baker Mayfield, and that's what Canales says in this interview. I was pleasantly surprised by the mobility and his boot game, being able to pull up when he has a dirty edge. That's just if you have pressure or defensive end plays out of it, and he's in your lap, to watch him be able to twitch up, find a platform, completion, or throw it away. Those are some of the things that I didn't know what I was getting with him, but he handled it great, and we drilled the heck out of it. He also says, I think for Kyle, some of the places where he can continue to grow are just his level of comfort with all the plays and all the new terminology. Being in the huddle with the guys, he's got great command, but he doesn't quite have the level of comfort to just say, like, I got this. That's telling to me. That tells you something. I think we need to go back and focus on that. Maybe I'm making too much about it. Maybe I am. But just listen to this. Listen to it again. I think for Kyle, some of the places where he can continue to grow are just his level of comfort with all the plays and all of this new terminology. Being in the huddle with the guys, he's not great command, but he doesn't quite have He's got great command, but he doesn't quite have the level of comfort to say, like, I got this. He's still working on, okay, now I got the play. I know what I'm doing. I know what my progression is. What's my footwork again? So it's just like piecing it all together, things together. But you can see the talent. You can see why they took him in the second round with some of the special throws that he's had throughout the camp. Why do I focus on that? I'm not trying to trash the kid. I'm not. But what have we heard throughout this entire process? He has difficulty in processing in the playbook. That right there tells you. I get it. It's a new offense. It's new terminology. But right there, that tells you. Doesn't necessarily have the confidence right away. Where have we heard that before? Remember? So to me, those comments are kind of telling. Just saying. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. giving you something to think about. Now, we have been featuring Mr. Paul Stewart of buckpower.com, the Bucks Power podcast network, his top 100 Tampa Bay Buccaneers of all time. We've kind of touched upon that, but I got a chance to interview the man himself across the pond. So I tell you what, let's go out to that interview really quick. Part 1 from 100 to 90 here on the evolution of sports talk television. Here we go. The Buck Power podcast segment here with Mr. Paul Stewart, the curator of this. And Paul, if the sports web audience doesn't know who you are, go ahead and introduce yourself here on the evolution of sports talk television, my friend.
Well, thank you very much, Peter. Yeah, my name's Paul Stewart. I do not live in Tampa or Clearwater or anywhere in the Bay Area. As you can tell from my accent, I'm not from around these parts. I come from England. I live about 150 miles southwest of London. I've been a Bucks fan since 1982. And over the years, I've created buckpower.com, the website dedicated to the history of the franchise, every player, every game, everything Bucks.
I love it. I absolutely love it. You know, we're all about the Bucks here on the Sports Web, Paul. You've been on here before. You know how passionate some of these fans are. And I feel like there's not a platform out there that's doing this. First and foremost, you're counting down the 100 Bucks of all time. What gave you this idea, Paul, to do this in the first place?
Well, something that I've done different countdowns in the past, Peter. I've done the top 100 games in Bucks history, the top draft picks, the top trades. I even did the top 100 holding penalties for Donaldson Smith. But, I mean, that took a lot of research to narrow it down to just 100. But it's something you want to do during the off-season because you're counting down to the start of the season. It seems a long time until training camp and, pre-season starts. So by doing one of these countdowns, we count down a player every day. It brings us closer and closer to the start of the season. And it also tells maybe some of the newer Buck fans about the older Buck players, because we're going back through all 47 years of Buccaneer history to bring this top 100 to you.
I love it. And you start out with number 100 here, George Yarno. You got 99, Jeff Gooch. 98, Rob Taylor. 97, Matt Bryant. Now, everybody knows he's synonymous with the 62-yard field goal in a bad season at the end of the day in 2006. Probably one of the lone highlights. What do you remember about Mr. Matt Bryant there at number 97?
Well, it's interesting because that game took place in October 2006, and it was the same weekend as the first NFL regular season game was announced to be played in London. And we used Gene's commentary on the BBC to promote the game that's going to be taking place the following year at Wembley between the Dolphins and the Giants. So I'll always remember that I got a chance to put some Buccaneer commentary into the BBC promotion. But of those first few names, Matt Bryant's not the only kicker there, because George Yarno, a 280-pound offensive lineman who played many years for the Bucks, he kicked an extra point in the final game of the 1983 season. The Bucks had gone 2-14, had all kinds of kicking problems, and they, for the final game, brought in a kicker called Dave Warnke, who will go down not just as the worst Buccaneer kicker of all time, probably the worst kicker in NFL history. And he was so bad that coach John McKay went along the bench asking, could anyone kick? Now, Yarno, as I said, an offensive lineman, put his hand up. McKay said, right, you're in. And the last extra point of that season, George Yarno, toe first kicker, kicked an extra point to become a single point scorer in Buccaneer history. But he did make the 100 countdown, not just for that. He was also a very good offensive lineman.
Nice. Good stuff there. We're on with Paul Stewart, the curator and creator of the Buck Power Podcast Network. I'm your host, Peter Blake, here live on the Sports Web, as we're giving you something a little special here from a different perspective, as we always do here on Monday and Wednesday nights on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You go to 96 here, Lawrence Dawsey, one of my personal favorites, a Florida State fan. 95, DeMar Dotson, a very good offensive lineman at the end of the day, but an unknown because he played basketball. Talk about Dawsey and Dotson a little bit there, as you try to say that 3 times.
Yeah, Dorsey and Dotson. I'll do it just the once. Lawrence Dorsey caught a 55-yard touchdown pass in his very first NFL game when the Bucs opened the season against the Jets that year. His career was a little bit hampered by injuries, but he was a very good, solid receiver for 5 seasons for the Buccaneers. But as you said, DeMar Dotson came out of nowhere. He'd been a basketball player, only played 1 year at college, and he signed with the Bucs as almost like not just an undrafted free agent, just to pretty much, go off the street. He was on the developmental squad, practice squad for a year, and he worked his way up to the point where he started over 100 games offensive line. And that's why he makes the countdown, simply for his longevity. It's easy for Buck fans to go, oh, he wasn't that good, he got lots of penalties. Well, so did every offensive lineman, including some of the ones we'll have later in the countdown at the top 10. But he well deserves his place on this list.
Do you believe he should be ranked higher? Because some people would say, good offensive lineman for some years there. Of course, when you get older, that happens. You take a step back. A lot of people blamed him for the penalties and some of the sacks. And of course, they go with Tristan Wirfs the year after, with Dotson being on the team in 2019. And that certainly seemed to push the Bucs offensive line over the top. But in your opinion, do you think he should have been ranked higher? What do you say to fans that say, Paul, he should have been ranked higher in this countdown?
Oh, Peter, you can say that about any player on this list, that player A should be higher than player B. And it's the same with any countdown. It's like when you list the best bands of all time, the best albums, that you've always got to be subjective. Now, when you get down to the number 1, number 2, number 3, that's when you could be more definite. To try and decide if 94 should be better than 95, that gets a little harder. So you're almost doing it in sections. But the way I'd say is all the players we're looking at here, these first few in the countdown, they deserve to be on the list, but this is probably the right section they're in.
I like it. We're on with Paul Stewart of BuckPowerPodcast.com. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. 94, Antonio Bryant. Talk about him, because I wasn't sure of this, and this is the reason why you got to go to the website in the first place. Every player on there, 200-yard game on Monday Night Football versus the Carolina Panthers. And if it wasn't for injuries at the end of the day, we may be talking about him in the same breath as Mike Evans, right? I mean, he had a start of his career, his Bucs career, was pretty impressive.
Yeah, he came to the Bucs in 2008 pretty much unheralded, and he had a huge season. It was over 1,200 yards. Now, that 200-yard game, it was the second 200-yard game in Bucs history after Mark Carrier's one in 87. Now, it's a little bit overshadowed because that was the day when the Panthers rushed for over 300 yards, and it was just after Monty Kivner announced he was leaving to go and join his son in the college ranks, and the Bucs went from 9-3 to 9-7. They missed the playoffs, and John Gruden lost his job. But that game features one of the most amazing one-handed touchdown passes I've ever seen. Antonio Bryant also caught the first Buccaneer touchdown outside of America, because the following year when the Bucs came to Wembley to play against New England Patriots, they lost 35-7, but Bryant caught the touchdown pass from Josh Johnson, of all people, who is still in the NFL to this day.
It's amazing in itself. I think that guy's been on like 1,600 teams across the NFL. Not only that, also the XFL. 93, Martin Mayhew, of course, free agent pickup from the Washington Redskins at the time. Now he's a general manager in the league. You got Lars Tate and, of course, Jeremy Zuda. Your thoughts on those last players in this countdown?
Yeah, Lars Tate's now sadly passed away, and I've done quite a few highlight films for his family. So, and I spoke to Lars before he passed, and it's been nice that I've been able to help give them good memories of his career. He had 2 years at the Bucs, was a touchdown machine in 88 and 89, and then pretty much faded into obscurity after that. Jeremy Zuta was a very, very good versatile offensive lineman. Played nearly 100 games for the Bucs, well deserving of a place on this list, even though, again, current Bucs fans may not remember him that well.
Good stuff there. We'll wrap it up right there. That's the first 10. We're coming back here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Once again, Paul, go ahead and promote yourself and promote this great website, which, by the way, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if this guy isn't the official historian, I don't know who is.
Yeah, bugpower.com. It is always free. It's always been free to access. It always will be. There's no advertising on the site anywhere because I do it for Bucks fans around the world, and I've got to know so many players and highlight films I've done for them over the years. It's had over now 100 million hits since I started in 2002, and that really sometimes I just have to sit back and just go wow. But as I said, I'm a Bucks fan. I might be on the other side of the Atlantic, but I'm a serious Bucks fan, and I produce Buck Power for all of you Buck fans, wherever you are as well.
And of course, yours truly, along with my tag team partner of the world, Mr. Jason Powers, do a podcast called the No Quarter Given. So you definitely have to tune into that on the Buck Power Podcast Network. Paul, thanks a lot for your time here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. We'll see you soon, my friend. All right?
Thank you very much. Happy to join you.
All right, welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Open phone lines. We'll put the phone line back up there. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 409-7528. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Somebody says, go Bills. All right. So we allow Bills fans on this show. Oh, yeah. Man, what do you think of that situation there in Buffalo? How is it going to turn out, Dan? Is Josh Allen going to be able to overcome the Madden curse? Are they going to be able to overcome what has been somewhat of a distraction in the offseason with Stephon Diggs? Are they going to get him ready to go? Are they going to go after DeAndre Hopkins? Are they going to go after Dalvin Cook to make him happy? Lots of questions remain with the Bills, but of course they got one of the best young quarterbacks in the league, and Josh Allen got to control the turnover situation. We'll see if Von Miller can come back. They signed Leonard Floyd in free agency, and that is a tough division. With the Jets, with the Miami Dolphins, even the Patriots are there. So we'll see how that works out for the Buffalo Bills. Thanks a lot for tuning in, as always, on the Evolution. One Baker till he fails. Need a 4-4 start. Halloween to Trask. Possibility. I mean, if you get off to a bad start, you know whoever the backup quarterback on this team is, the fans are going to be screaming for him to come in. I mean, that's the thing. You know, you had Tom Brady for 3 years. You know who your starting quarterback is. Now you're not necessarily sure who the starting quarterback is. Even if Baker Mayfield is your starter, if he performs poorly, then there's going to be fans out there that are going to be wanting Kyle Trask to come in and replace him. Or if Kyle Trask gets the job as the starter, you're going to have fans screaming for Baker Mayfield to get in there because he has the experience. I think it's going to be Baker, but again, we'll see how it turns out. And I thought it was funny when you post that article on Facebook, and once again, thanks a lot for the 32,000 reach. I mean, I love that. And again, your opinion isn't wrong. That's what it was for. That's what it's for on the Sports Web. Your opinion counts, in my opinion. It does. Don't be afraid to disagree with me. Don't be afraid to disagree with the co-host on this show. You're more than welcome to friend me and follow me at Peter H. Blake on Facebook, or like and follow the Sports Web on YouTube. I like those kind of posts because they generate something. They generate reaction. Not everybody has those posts out there. They don't care what you think. They want to put down what they think and say, okay, if you don't think that, you're wrong. That's not what happens here on the Sports Web. That's not what happens there on the Facebook page. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Oh, yeah. As always. And we'll get more reaction. But I felt like when I posted that, people were like, well, that's your opinion. No, that's not me saying it. That's former Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterback Shaun King saying it. I've told you how I felt about this. I favor Baker Mayfield, but again, I'm going to give it a chance with Kyle Trask. And if he beats out Baker in training camp, and I have faith that the Bucs will make the right decision. We all should have that, right? With what they've done the last 5 to 10 years. We should. So I'm going to give it a chance and see how it all plays out. Let's go back out to these comments. Christopher Cole says the Matt Bryant curse. Yes. Mike Rickford, pro. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. On the St. Petersburg Sports Connection and Radio St. Pete. Definitely going to be talking to this gentleman here in the next couple weeks. Just saying, a little tease right there. And then let's go out to Jim. What is the website? The website is buckpower.com. Every player, every stat. I mean, it takes you back to when you were 8 years old. I know I became a Bucs fan when I was 8 years old. Paul Stewart has done that. And like I said, it's not just lip service to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I hope you're watching Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We love you here on the Sports Web. I love you. That is the official historian of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right there. I mean, amazing information. And we'll have part 2 of his countdown of the top 100 Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their history. We'll have that on Wednesday night at 9:30. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's go out to Jim from the guy you interviewed from across the pond. Yes, buckpower.com. Paul Stewart runs that across the pond in England. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. It's the Sports Web live here on I Love St. Pete, the hub and amped up sports. Once again, I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Rays talk tonight, recapping that situation. The last 13 games, not so good.
Shut up!
But I love the comments from the general manager. Let the truth set you free. Can we go back to those? I mean, we have been talking about this ad nauseum, and I get into disagreements all the time with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy on this because he says, yeah, keep the team the way it is. Keep the team the way it is. And I say, you know what? You have an opportunity to win a World Series. You got to go for it. Their general manager basically says in so many words, we're going for it. It's about time, Tampa Bay Rays. It's about time to win a World Series. Is it not, Rays fans out there? I always talk about it. The teams in Tampa Bay that go for it. The blueprint is out there. The standard has been set. The Lightning set it. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers followed it. And hopefully the Rays repeat it. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. So I love to hear those comments of we're going all in. Yes, thank you. Go all in. Go out and get a starting pitcher. Go out and get another hitter. Go out and get a closer. Go out there and get another reliever. I don't care if you're the best team in Major League Baseball. Stomp the hell out of the Yankees. Stomp the hell out of the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays and the Baltimore Orioles. Beat them all. Leave nothing to chance. Leave no doubt, Tampa Bay Rays and ownership. Go out and choke them out. Is that me getting passionate? You better believe it. I want a World Series championship. Do you want to win a World Series championship? I mean, Bucs fans, you won two Super Bowl trophies. Lightning 3 Stanley Cups. You know who's not in that equation? The Tampa Bay Rays. 2 World Series appearances, but nothing to show. It's time to do something about that. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number to get in, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. Stop me if you've heard this before.
Shut up! That's good enough to suck right there!
Antonio Brown. Yep, Antonio Brown story. Why do we we got to cover it? Because it involves the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why do we got to cover it? Because we all love talking about it, right? Don't we love to talk about Antonio Brown? I mean, is it really shocking that once again he stiffed his Arena League football team? Is that a shock? No. It's not a shock. Not at all. That's what he's done throughout his career. Is it really a shock with the comments that he made to Tyreek Hill that once again he's blaming somebody else instead of himself? No, it's not.
How about no?
Because that is Antonio Brown's MO. That's what he does. Somebody said it today best. Until this guy's either in jail or in a mental institution, and I don't want to, I don't want to offend, but there's something not right there. It's not all there. Whether it was a hit, I don't know what it is. Whether it's conditioning, whether, it's the whole entitlement thing. I'm an athlete. He's tremendous. Something not right with this man. And of course, he goes on the Tyreek Hill podcast, which, everybody has a podcast these days, even players. It needed to be said. He talks about the time he played for the Bucs against the Jets. Here's what he has to say. We're about to play the Jets this week, and I'm really hurt. So I'm taking pictures to the coach. Like, if we're going to win the Super Bowl, I'm going to need to take these last 2 weeks of the regular season, at least recover up so I can give you my best. We're here to win the Super Bowl. So coach was like, hey, man, we ain't resting. Sounds like BA. Brown said Brady promised him targets during the game if he powered through the pain. The 7-time Pro Bowler got 5 targets in the game and caught 3 passes for 26 yards. Tom called me like, yo, this week, man, the Jets, man, they sweep, man. I'm going to hit you with like 10 to 12 targets. So he's going to gas me up. So you know me. That's all I need to hear. Like, yo, you got to throw me the ball. This is his words, not mine. Trust me. And then he goes on to say, with everything else, he basically just quit on the team because he wasn't getting targets. But here's a guy that's going to complain about having an injury and having to play through it. And says in so many words, he felt like the Bucs were treating him like a dog. No fault at all. No fault from Antonio Brown. Shocking. Shocking.
That's good enough to shock right there.
I mean, is this really shocking from Antonio Brown? Are we done talking about this guy? I mean, I feel like we have to talk about the guy. Because once again, he's always mentioning the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and how he was treated. He goes on to say, Tom Brady and these boys, they're talking to me like I got a selfish impact. I'm staying at Davis Islands and I got like 10 cars out there and I'm having different models come, but that's what I choose to do. It's not what y'all need to do, but this is what I do. Okay, whatever works for you. 10 models. Let's focus on that. Let's not focus on the game plan. Let's not focus on winning a Super Bowl. Let's focus on the 10 models. I mean, that doesn't make you selfish. In what galaxy? Seriously. I mean, this is what he said. This is exactly what he said. This is what I do. 10 models. Guys are saying I'm selfish. I'm not. This is what I do. Tells you everything you need to know. Then he goes on, and before you say, I'm being a hater, I'm never going to have 10 models in my house. That's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. Obviously, the guy is not only being called out by Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, but his teammates. Because why? He's not committed. He's not committed to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but, honestly, maybe he should be committed to somewhere else with the line of thinking. This is what I do, the 10 models. This is how I do it. I'm living out in Davis Island. Oh, well, congratulations to you. All right. So he continues on. Tom Brady and I have a football relationship. Outside of football, we had a mutual friend. Tom and I don't have a lot in common, besides being great at football. A lot of people could say you're friends, but friends are the people that know your family. I know your kids and congratulate you and tell you happy birthday and really support you. I feel like that's life. Everyone is not going to be your friend. Everyone you work with, everyone you play with, anyone you grow up with, we all outgrow each other. That doesn't mean we hate each other, but we're not calling each other every day and texting them. But it's been like that since 2021. Goes on to say, we work with people, you live with people, life goes on. We all got a life to live. I love when an athlete says that. We all got a life to live. That tells you everything you need to know about Antonio Brown. Living his life, baby. Living his best life. 10 models at Davis Island. Who gives a stuff if the Bucs repeat as Super Bowl champions? Because that's what I do. Teammates, Tom Brady, coaches, it doesn't matter. That's what I do. Fans come on this show all the time for the last couple years and defend this guy, and he's saying it right in your friggin' face. How selfish and how he was not focused on the prize. Because that's what I do. That's the life I live. Well, guess what? It didn't work out. That's what I'm grateful to do, this and be able to express the real. A lot of people don't get a chance to hear the whole side of the story or other people's points of view. There you go. What do you think, Bucs fans? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. I don't know how you defend it. I really don't. I mean, he's got a terrible pattern of behavior. I mean, quitting on the team, stiffing chefs, stiffing players, ruining franchises. It's all right there. 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. Let's go out to ESPN's rankings of the Bucs. They take a look at NFL team supporting cast in 2023. Here's what Bill Barnwell said about Evans and Godwin. Can Evans and Godwin carry them? Evans made it over 1,000 yards for the 9th consecutive season, but he also turns 30 in August and needed a 207-yard explosion in Week 17 to get there. Godwin is younger, 27, but the explosiveness we saw during 2019 season hasn't really been there since. Well, he's coming off an injury, right? I mean, is that fair? You're right. We don't see the explosive nature. We don't see the explosiveness. Hello? He's coming off a knee injury. I mean, this is the reason why the national media is so hated in Tampa Bay. All right, let's go out to the phone lines. Mr. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. Calm me down a little bit. Welcome back to the Evolution. What's up, man?
Who else on a Monday night is going to pull in Rock Riley and Paul Stewart? You got the all-star cast. You're bringing it live on a Monday night, brother. Great show. Just had a call. Wanted to get in here before you got out. Just tell you, it's just fantastic as always.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Lots of content to talk about tonight. We talked about your Tampa Bay Rays kind of scuffling here the last 13 games, 6-7. Losing to the Royals there. A lot of people felt like they should sweep the Royals, that should sweep the A's. But, it is baseball. It's the ebbs and flows. And then, of course, you got the Wander Franco situation. We didn't talk about Shane McClanahan. He's got some back stiffness. His start got pushed back to Friday, so a little bit of concern there. But besides that, with all that being said, they're still 54-27, 4.5 games over the Baltimore Orioles. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you said Kyle Trask is going to be starting quarterback come September. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I'm giving it a chance, and people are trying to convince me of this. And I'm reading these comments from Dave Canales. And by the way, Pewter Report just absolutely killed it as always. JC Allen, Scott Reynolds, everybody over there, you do a hell of a job. We appreciate what you bring to the Bucs community here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. But just reading some of these comments from Canales, and he said in so many words, Kyle Trask knows the offense, but he doesn't necessarily have the confidence yet. He doesn't have all the confidence. I want to go find those comments, but
I heard you, and that was eyebrow raising. But I will also tell you that you could turn it on its side, and come September, if Trask were to in some crazy universe were to beat out Baker for the starting position, he Dave Canales could also turn it on its ear and say, well, what we like about him, they're both equally gifted, but he doesn't know what he doesn't know, so we feel like we're going to get a fresh start, and we're going to develop this entirely new offense. So he's not going in because he's got no experience. So we like the fact that this is pretty much his first shot. But yeah, when he said that you basically, in so many words, that Kyle Trask didn't really command the huddle, and we kind of figured that that's
right.
The way the kid is, going back to Manville, going back to Florida behind Bill.
Ray, I want to read these comments really quick because I want to make sure I get them right. I don't want to put your words in somebody else's mouth, but this is what he said on the Pewter Report podcast, offensive coordinator Dave Canales. I think for Kyle, some of the places where he can continue to grow are just his level of comfort with all the plays and all of the new terminology. Being in the huddle with the guys, he's got great command, but he doesn't quite have that level of comfort to just say, like, I got this. He's still working on, okay, now I got the play. I know what I'm doing. I know what my progression is, what's my footwork again. So it's like piecing all those things together, but you can see the talent. You can see why they took him in the second round with some of the special throws that he's had throughout the camp. For me, the thing that I focus on is, and we talked about this before Tampa Bay, Ray, and it goes back to Clyde Christensen and also goes back to some of the criticism with Trask, is that he's not able to pick up on a new offense correctly. They asked him that a couple months ago. He was defending himself, saying, I'm going to pick it up. I may be a little bit deliberate learner, but I'm going to be able to pick it up at the end of the day. What are your thoughts on these comments?
Well, like Trey Lance and the 49ers and what they're going through, the kid out of North Dakota State.
Amazing,
FBS
right?
Right. But he comes from an FBS school, and something Kyle Shanahan thought he saw in that kid. And then, of course, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, proved in 2022 that he's not the guy. But I heard, just tonight talking on a national sports show tonight, whatever sports show, and they were talking about the difference between an FBS school, and they said, well, it's not like Trey Lance went to an SEC school. And then we don't forget that Kyle Trask, not only was he runner-up for the Heisman Trophy, but he stepped in when he wasn't expected to. Stays back for his senior season, ends up going 11-3, takes him to the Orange Bowl, comes within a few breaths, if you will, of winning a Heisman Trophy. 25 interceptions or 25 touchdowns and like 4 or 5 interceptions. The kid's got the bona fides to play this position. But no, I first of all, you're totally right. Pewter Report locked it down because that was really the first time I've actually seen him. And they've got Dave Canales at his house. He's coming in, just proving that like everyone else, we all have our little issues every now and then with Wi-Fi. But some of the things he said in there, I think sometimes while we're busy trying to read into what he's saying, which I think we always have to do, we always have to ask that question. I think at the same time, let's also enjoy this for what it is. It's probably the best. I think it's the best quarterback competition the Buccaneers have had in the history of this team.
Well, there's definitely a lot of controversy, and I tell you right now, the post that I had up there with Shaun King and the 32,000 reach, on Facebook. With over 500 comments, and I felt bad for Rock, but I had to tag him in it because you give the fans out there, the web heads, and everybody that loves this show and watches this show on a Monday and Wednesday night, the opportunity to say what they want to say because not every platform offers that. We give them that opportunity, and a lot of people felt passionately about it. And I think that's going forward how people and fans are going to feel about this competition between Trask and Mayfield.
Well, talking about the platform, that's one of the reasons why you and I have always enjoyed doing what we do. But one of the strengths of our platform is you've always since the day I've met you, use your second call, use your own walk-up music. It's all about the concepts, the thoughts that are coming in. And that's what that post from Shaun King, I didn't feel like I was cheated by Shaun when he said that. I just think, again, I happen to know 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt that Shaun King does not have some kind of insider information. I mean, I'm sure he knows some guys. I mean, he was in the game. He played quarterback for your Buccaneers. But he, just like everyone else, is frustrated because it really is a true quarterback competition. And this whole thing about Kyle Trask wasn't it. Peter, I don't care if Kyle Trask would have came in and went 50 for 50 in the preseason for 3 years. Blaine Gabbert was in his 9th year in that system. Tom Brady was not going to let the future of his 8th Super Bowl title rely on a first-time quarterback, no matter how good the kid looked. He was going to go with Blaine Gabbert. There was no chance for that kid to win. So anybody that says, well, Kyle Trask couldn't start above Blaine Gabbert, don't go there. With Tom Brady, it was going to be Blaine Gabbert. He had experience in the system. It never was a true competition.
It's a fair point. I still think there's some red flags there, but now we've turned the page and we'll see how that all works out in training camp. I got to tell you this because I had to read you this. I'm glad you called in because the general manager, Peter Bendex, was talking about the Rays and their chances at the trading deadline. And here's what he had to say. Listen to this. Yes. This year's club is really strong. We have a chance to do some special things. So I think we're going to be doing everything Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy we can to make this club stronger, give it the best chance to win a World Series. I'm just going to go ahead and define what he was saying. Go all in. Let the truth set you free. Your thoughts, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay.
Well, miraculously, the Rays came around to the fact that if you offer $10 seats for every game and have a Randy land, you build that and you and I have talked about this, the fact that would the Rays be buyers or sellers at the deadline? Do they have the bona fides to get the people excited? They never did stuff. They always had ticket deals and stuff, but unlike other cities with major corporate support, the Rays didn't have that. But I 100% think that with this Rays team, and you talked about the fact that they win one, they lose one, they win one, they lose one. We always knew it was a marathon, not a sprint. We're going to have our dog days of summer. This team, the offense does sputter a little bit here and there, but nowhere near has it stalled. And 100%, this team right here, this 2023 Rays team, if you can get another reliever in the middle there, or if you can bring in another bat, because you look down the road and you realize you're going to be facing a Houston or maybe even a LA Dodgers in the World Series or what have you, then yeah, they're going to sell. They got to do that because at this point, Peter, I honestly think that Stu Sternberg's doing one of two things: continuing to build the support for getting that new stadium built here in Pinellas County, or continuing to show the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County that it could work over here and make Mayor Castor and the Hillsborough County Sports Commission maybe get off their wallets and talk about building a stadium over there. So from Stu Sternberg's standpoint, you got to be a buyer.
Oh, you definitely got to be a buyer, and you're definitely buying this Rays team up 24% when it comes to attendance this year. And some of the names they're throwing out there, and this is from Mark Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times, Marcus Stroman of the Cubs, Eduardo Rodriguez of the Tigers. Stroman holds a player option for 2024, worth $21 million, while Rodriguez has 3 years and $49 million left on his contract. He also goes on to say Drew Smiley, who's a former Ray, available in addition to Stroman, while the Cardinals could consider dealing pending free agent Jack Flaherty or Jordan Montgomery as they look to retool their roster. Mike Clevenger of the White Sox, of course, Mr. Harry the Greek himself, Rich Hill of the Pirates, and Michael Lorenzen of the Tigers are among pending free agents who could be made available at the deadline. Speaking, and again, the Royals, he also goes on to say the Royals have indicated the likes of Aroldis Chapman, Scott Barlow, will be made available to clubs. Brent Suter, Daniel Bard of the Rockies, Kyle Finnegan of the Nationals, Joey Kelly, Ronaldo Lopez of the White Sox, Alex Lang of the Tigers seem likely. And of course, the guys that are consistent on this team right now when it comes to the bullpen, Jason Adam, Kevin Kelly, and Colin Poche. After that, very questionable. So do you think they make the big splash? I mean, the general manager is talking about it. You go for a Marcus Stroman to shore up that rotation. You go for a bullpen guy. What would you do, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, if you're the general manager of the Tampa Bay Rays?
Well, let me tell you, first of all, a lot of it's going to depend on if Tyler Glasnow continues to come back to form like we know he can. And then also you have a Sugar Shane McClanahan and whatever that was all about with the whole, So, I mean, you got, because the Rays, they do one thing they do year in and year out besides win is they put a lot of stress on their pitching staff. And you don't want to get to October and still be dealing with or have a shallow pitching staff and not be able to go long in these games. As far as a bat goes, Pete, as far as a bat or defense goes, I have a hard time trying to figure out of the starting nine on any given night or starting eight, who I would replace out there. I mean, sure, we talk about a bat with a Brandon Lauer. We talk about other players that are in there already coming up from our farm system.
Sure.
I can't look at that and say, going in the system, it was no more G-Man Choi at first base. Yandy Diaz just stepped in at first base. I haven't seen a first base play like this since, my gosh. I mean, G-Man was pretty good. I mean, but so
it's an upgrade. And they've upgraded their lineup. Jose Siri has been an upgrade over Kevin Kiermaier. I want to talk about Wander Franco. What was your thoughts on that whole situation with him? Because we talked to Rock Riley tonight. He thought it was a little bit more than just, the effort and getting into arguments with players. And I've heard he's gotten into multiple arguments with players on this team. And, Zach Eflin supports him. Kevin Cash came out and said it's not going to be just a flip the switch thing. He's got to be a better teammate. So what do you make of this whole situation? Highly talented guy, could be one of the best young shortstops in the game. He's got $186 million reasons why the Rays are not going to move on. Its whole thing is ridiculous for fans just to move on because he's a punk, but it's convoluted, Leo Word.
Well, yeah, and the thing is that, you're worried about the breakout season that this team has had with Randy Arozarena and coming off the World Baseball Classic and El Patron there, Wander Franco at shortstop. One of the things true, diehard Rays fans have worried about is that as we've continued to, I said all year, Kevin Cash has finally decided, look, we're still going to depend on analytics, but he's going to let the kids have some fun. But at what point do you go, okay, we're having some fun, but, we don't want to cost us a big game. We're not going to let some type of a locker room cancer spread. And think about it. Just remember, just last season, we had a couple of Rays players out in the parking lot getting into a fight. I'm not going to name names, but the fact
we know who those are, Yandy and Randy. And we think that that's the reason why. And I've heard that it's between Randy and Wander, and it's other players. I mean, and that's the problem, right? It's so great right now. And you got a great story. And you look in the annals of baseball history, right? The Yankees are famous for it with the Reggie Jackson situation. And I'm trying to think of the manager, and my dad would be just kicking me right now not to know the manager, but
Billy Martin?
Billy Martin and Reggie Jackson during that season and still being able to win a World Series. They're able to overcome it because they got enough leadership. I'm not saying it's the situation, but let's face it. The Rays have a special team right now. They have a special club. You just hope that a distraction or a clubhouse, you're not killing each other with these young players, and you hope it doesn't linger.
Well, sometimes in my night hustle at UPS, got a great supervisor. Shout out to Rowdy, my supervisor. Sometimes he'll yell at other people, but he'll yell through me, and he knows because him and I got a pretty good relationship. And it may not even be actually necessary, but he's doing it when times are not when they're worst. He's doing it when he sees the potential for times to turn because he wants to make sure he keeps everybody on their P's and Q's. And I would have worried about this except for last night. After Franco goes to bat, has the big hit, scores the run, and he comes across the plate and he's celebrating with the rest of his team. And I went, okay, because that was the break point for me. How is El Patron? How is Wander going to react to this? Basically getting a ruler run across his knuckles, if you will, just to make sure he stays in line. He came through it okay. It's still a young team, and we know today in professional sports it could blow up at any time, not just with the Rays, but any team. So we all hold our breath, and we want these, millionaires and these kids that are paid a king's ransom to play a children's game, and they do a good job doing it. Stay in line. But the fact of the matter is, Wander came up to bat last night. He came through it fine. He was celebrating with the team, and that told me that he took to it okay, and hopefully the rest of the team falls in line as well.
Good stuff, Tampa Bay. Ray Kennedy, final thoughts here on the evolution.
I had a post tonight, and I wasn't trying to say bad things about people, but I mean, one thing I've just not heard anybody. I've not heard one person refer to the type of system that Lincoln Riley ran with Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. I've not heard one person talk about the Gator system with Dan Mullen and the Kyle Trask. And so instead of just always saying, okay, it's got to be Baker's job, it's going to be Kyle's job, why or why not? Let's have a good time with this. Let's see who's earning it, and let's take it day by day. Everybody's trying to be quick to be the first one and predict who's going to be the starter, and it should be Baker with his experience, and it could be Kyle because he's gifted. But the fact of the matter is, let's enjoy it, because Pete, I've told you this since we go back so far. It's always about the journey just as much as the destination, and a journey with the quarterback competition in 2023 is a good one.
It is a good one, and it's always a good time here. Definitely don't be a stranger, my friend. Best of the Bay, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution. All right.
brother. Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Good stuff there from Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, who's very passionate about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, very passionate about the Tampa Bay Rays, and we're very passionate about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, in case you can't get through, I pay for this line with Verizon. Thank you very much, Verizon. 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go out to Christopher Cole. Cubs better not trade Marcus Stroman because they will be in the race all year long. We'll see if they fall out of the race. That was one of the possibilities that's been mentioned. Who knows? And David says, this is really a quarterback competition. How come ESPN, NFL Network, and multiple other sports media all say it's Baker's team? Because of what we talked about on this show. Because Baker has the experience. And are you going to really put your faith in somebody who has 9 snaps for his entire career? That's not to say that quarterbacks can't overcome that, right? I mean, go back to Seattle. You pick up a free agent quarterback. You got Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. He turns out to be your starter, and he's eventually your franchise quarterback. Can it be the same way with Kyle Trask? I don't know. You heard from Rock Riley tonight. It certainly seems like it's a legitimate quarterback competition. That's all we've heard. But those comments from Dave Canales are telling to me. They're very telling. And I don't think I'm making a big deal about it. I think you look inside those comments, they're very telling. Just saying. All right, let's go out to Jim. Yes. And yes, sir, to Jim. Thanks a lot. Let's go ahead and finish off this story, and then we'll be out of here for the night. Again, this is from Bill Barnwell. Bucks rankings, ESPN ranks supporting cast 18th in the NFL. 18th. Wow. Okay. Can Evans and Godwin carry them? Evans made it over 1,000 yards for the 9th consecutive season, as we talked about. He also turns 30 in August and needed a 207-yard explosion in Week 17 to get there. Godwin is younger, 27, but the explosiveness we saw during the 2019 season hasn't really been there since. He's averaged 11.1 yards per reception, 1.93 yards per route run during the Tom Brady era, virtually identical to the numbers of Jacoby Myers posted in New England over the same time frame. But once again, going back to the facts, Godwin is coming off a major knee injury and still had over 100 receptions and had over 1,000 yards. So not bad for a guy that doesn't necessarily have his explosiveness back. Just saying. That's the reason why Tampa Bay sports fans don't like the national media. He may have his explosiveness back this year. I think that's why I'm excited. I am excited about the weapons around this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team. I think they're going to be better than a lot of people anticipate. Maybe that's the homer in me. I think they can be the 2022 Seattle Seahawks. If Baker Mayfield is your starting quarterback, look for him to possibly duplicate Geno Smith's and what he did last year. Yeah. I think he can have the same type of year with Dave Canales running this team. With all the weapons, with the emphasis on the run game, I'm very optimistic. Now, is that right? I mean, Godwin's coming off an injury. I think he's going to be better. Evans is Evans. Can the defense stay healthy? Can Shaq Barrett come back? We talked about some of these questions. And the offensive line. Everybody's focusing on that offensive line. I'm very excited about that too. Because you got a lot of youth, a lot of competition. And I think you get better with Tristan Wirfs moving over to the left side and having whoever, I think it's going to be Luke Gedeke, on the right side. So I'm excited about that competition. Goes on to say this offense was very different with Brady and offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich leaving town, but the Bucs need the old version of Godwin to overcome what they lost elsewhere. He'll have every opportunity to do it. Coming off the injury, poor guy, still coming off a major injury here, ESPN, and he still had over 100 catches and 1,000 receiving yards. I mean, what do you want? All right, on that note, I gave you everything you wanted tonight. Thanks to the Great Rock Rally for coming on with us as a guest. Of course, Paul Stewart with buckpower.com. We'll finish off. We'll finish part 2 because he's got a top 100. We'll do this every week on a Monday and Wednesday night, playing that video and, counting down the top 100 Tampa Bay Buccaneers of all time. Of course, Tampa Bay Ray coming in, and of course, all the phone calls, all the text messages. Like and follow the Sports Web on YouTube, like I Love St. Pete the Hub and Amped Up Sports, and do 3 things for me on this Monday night edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And for the fans of the Sports Web and Tampa Bay sports fans out there, it's your time. Have a great night.
Catch the Sports Web on Monday and Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on PHB Studio Network.